Today we are talking about the single tax. So a couple months ago, I asked on Instagram who wanted to learn more, and quite a few of you said you did. So it took me some time, did a lot of research. We're going to talk about the single tax today. And I have been talking about the single tax for years now, half joking that unless my income exponentially increases, I will have to find a partner. And after evacuating from the Los Angeles fires in January, solo, an experience I wish on no one, my desire to date has compounded. That and someone needs to zip up my dresses and lace my corsets, right? Because it's so hard to do that by yourself. Sarcasm aside, the financial pressure of being a single creative in my 30s is real. And I'm not alone. 93% of singles feel financially burdened by their relationship status. It's a lot of people that are feeling this way. And numbers tell stories, and buckle up because there's going to be a lot of numbers in this piece. Nearly half the population, 46%, is currently single. By 2030, projections show 45% of women will choose to remain single. That is crazy. This is becoming more of a demographic issue than ever before in the history of this nation. And there's even a political divide emerging. Left-leaning women are significantly more likely to stay single than their right-leaning counterparts. And why that's happening is another conversation entirely, which maybe I'll get to in a future episode. And even though the single tax affects all single people, it disproportionately affects women. And due to systemic inequity, women of color even more. So historically, how and why is this a thing? Well, since the nation's founding, government policy has been shaped around heteronormative relationships, which was a deliberate choice to preserve social order and maintain patriarchy. We all know this, right? So even after women won the right to vote in 1920, the system barely budged. Women's citizenship was no longer legally tied to their husband's identity, but the expectation remained crystal clear. Men provide, women depend. And this economic model didn't just center men, it gave them structural power that persists today. The single tax isn't a bug in the system. It's a core feature. We have to remember that it wasn't until 1974 that women could open a bank account, okay? 1974, or apply for a credit card without a male cosigner. It took until 1981, just over 40 years ago, for Kirchberg versus Feenstra to overturn state laws giving husbands unilateral control over jointly owned property. So that meant that husbands could no longer keep wives financially in the dark or secretly mortgage their family home without her knowing. Because before 1980, that was legal. So let me just explain that. So before 1981, men in heterosexual relationships were allowed to make all decisions regarding property. So if your husband secretly mortgages your home without you knowing, that was legal. So in 1981, just a little over 40 years ago, that was overturned so that there was equal power in the household. The man could not just make those decisions without his partner's consent. And so if we look at that, we can see how the whole system was structurally built towards heterosexual married relationships. But beyond that, they still centered male power. Crazy times. Like the whole system was structurally built towards heterosexual married relationships. Yet despite these legal victories and women's growing financial independence, it is still sadly economically more sound to be married, which I'm going to make really clear in the next few minutes. Government policy continues to deeply incentivize marriage, making single life an experience most of us can't afford or outgrow. With increasing inflation, the wealth gap widening, less upward mobility, the single tax is becoming damning. From the tax code to insurance policies, every major financial structure in America was designed with married couples in mind. So let's examine how this plays out in practice, starting with the most direct hit to our wallets, taxes. Married couples filing jointly get a significantly higher standard deduction than single filers. They often land in lower tax brackets, especially when one spouse out-earns the other. The joint filing system can significantly drop their overall tax rate. Then there's the credit buffet, which single people can't access. Earned income tax credit, child tax credit, child independent care credit, plus education credits like the American Opportunity and lifetime learning credits. Married couples also get more flexibility with retirement savings, higher contribution limits for their IRAs, and better planning options. So if you're a single parent, you don't get any of those credits I mentioned before. Even with estate planning, married couples can transfer assets between themselves tax-free and benefit from a higher combined estate tax exemption. Meanwhile, single people pay gift taxes on transfers that would cost married couples nothing. So if you're giving someone money and you're not married, there's a tax you pay. Whereas if you're married and you're giving that to a spouse, or you don't pay that. The American marital system grants married people over 1,000 legal benefits that single people simply cannot access. In the case of Social Security, survivor benefits are exclusively tied to marriage. Single people can't leave their benefits to anyone, and they can't claim anyone else's benefits either. If you die single, those benefits die with you, which is crazy. Health insurance creates another single disadvantage. Employer-provided coverage extends to spouses, giving married people more career flexibility. So one partner's insurance can free the other to job hop, pursue entrepreneurship, or a creative path because they have their spouse's health insurance. Single people, we're more likely to be chained to jobs that offer health insurance, limiting our professional mobility and risk-taking ability, right? Like living in your creative truth. With single people making up almost 50% of the population, and that number projected to increase over the next decade, it's worth asking, shouldn't these benefits work for all people? I think so. And this creates a chicken and egg scenario, because is policy creating culture, or is culture creating policy? We're caught in a self-perpetuating cycle. Policies create material incentives that make people conform to certain behaviors, marriage in this case, which then appear to validate those policies. People point to those outcomes as proof that the rules are correct, reinforcing an older paradigm over and over again. And culture does push progress forward, gay marriage being a perfect example. But gay marriage still supports the American marriage hypothesis. Singledom doesn't. We're facing a seismic demographic issue. By 2030, 45% of women will choose to remain single. Women already drive 70% of consumer purchasing power, wielding massive economic influence. So why don't single women, this emerging economic powerhouse, get to benefit from policies that reflect their reality? We have to demand that policies shift with these demographics. How long will we let an outdated system penalize our future? Beyond institutional marriage benefits, single women face additional financial hits that married women can split between two incomes. The pay gap is real, as we know. U.S. women earn 80 cents for every dollar men make. That's less money coming into a single income household from the start. Even when women ask for raises, and we do ask, we're less likely to get them. I can speak from firsthand experience that I have been denied a raise more than once when I asked for it. And when I, frankly, deserved it, carrying entire departments on my back with as little as a thank you. And then there's the pink tax, the premium women pay simply for being women. 19 states still tax period products higher. California had to pass a law banning price differentials on products marketed to women because companies were literally charging women more for the same goods. Just marketed to women, same thing to men. Pink razors more expensive than male razors. Add in the financial burden of gender-based beauty standards, hair, makeup, nails, clothing, and single women are paying these costs solo, while married women can share the financial burden. And the bias even extends to reproductive choices. So if you want to freeze your eggs, good luck. Only 21 states cover some fertility treatments and just 15 cover IVF. The system prioritizes couples by covering embryo creation. So when you have both eggs and a sperm. So if you're a heterosexual couple, your eggs, your partner's sperm. But it often excludes single women who only want egg freezing. They don't have a partner yet, so they just want to freeze eggs, not sperm. Same-sex couples face similar discrimination here. Donor eggs frequently aren't covered either. So just to clarify, paying extra even trickles down into vacations, my sore spot. Travel and Leisure recently exposed how airlines price jack single ticket purchases. Buy one ticket, pay a premium. Buy two tickets for the same flight, and each costs less per person. And they tested this repeatedly across different searches with the same result every time. It was always more expensive to buy a solo ticket. And don't get me started on baggage fees. Slightly overweight on a checked bag, you're hit with exorbitant overage charges. Couples can split their belongings across multiple bags, distributing weight evenly. Solo travelers, we're stuck juggling 2 bags, which I don't like to do, or paying penalty fees for the crime of packing efficiently into one. Drives me nuts. I have picked many a fight at the baggage desk lamenting at the ludicrous nature of the overweight bag policy. Now let's talk about the day-to-day expenses. So single women can't split rent, utilities, groceries, or insurance. Take Gaia, a Philadelphia au pair who was profiled by Bustle. She pays $3,100 monthly for rent and utilities. Cost that would drop to $1,550 if she shared that with a partner. That's nearly $19,000 in savings per year she can't access simply because she's single. And when you get to a certain age, you may not want a roommate anymore. So you're eating the cost of sharing an apartment that you could obviously save money on because maybe you just are over the roommate situation, which respect. I've been there. I have had many a bad roommate experience. And so in that case, we can say that you could get a roommate. But when you're living with a partner that you're building a life with, that dynamic is obviously different. And the wealth gap compounds over time. So in 2010, married couples aged 25 to 34 had 4 times the median net worth of single households. 4 times. By 2019, that gap had widened to nearly 9 times. Single women accumulate the least amount of wealth over their lifetimes, not because we earn less or spend frivolously, but because the system charges a premium for existing alone. The lifetime cost is staggering. A 2013 analysis found that an unmarried woman earning 40 grand could pay nearly $500,000 more over her lifetime than her married counterpart. Earn $80,000, that penalty jumps to over $1 million. It's crazy. And we're not talking about luxury purchases or lifestyle choices. We're talking about the basic cost of being alive. And the consolation prize is, this is good, is that single women are actually the happiest demographic despite the cultural stigma and scrutiny that comes with being a single woman. So at least we're fucking happy, okay? At least we're fucking happy. The single tax is a structural issue. It's a web of policies that systematically deny single people the wealth building opportunities available to married couples. And as illustrated from this talk, it disproportionately affects women. From tax codes to health insurance to social security benefits, the system is not built for us. And as nearly half the population lives single lives, and as women increasingly choose independence over traditional partnership, we need policies that reflect this reality. The single tax isn't just unfair, it's economically inefficient, penalizing the very demographic driving the majority of consumer spending. This conversation deserves more weight in our cultural consciousness. We've fought for marriage equality, but what about equality for those who choose not to marry at all? What do you guys think? I don't have all the answers here. I just am exploring interesting threads. And this one, it seems like there's a real case to lobby for policy if 50% of the population is going to be single. If we're moving away from this idea of a marriage-centered culture, what does it mean? What do we do? How do we approach it? How do we start to advocate for the financial benefit of everybody, whether or not you agree with people staying single or choosing to be single? It sort of doesn't matter. It's how do we take care of this massive overlooked demographic? Looking forward to your feedback and your thoughts. If you found this interesting, Share it with somebody. If it relate to it, share it with somebody. Tag us Too Much with DLH for the podcast or Denise Love Hewett for me. I'm super excited to hear what you guys think. This is meant to be thought-provoking and interesting. So all feelings and opinions are welcome. See you next week.